Ladies and gentlemen, Shelley Winter Show live, local, topical, and relevant. Really quickly, before we go to break, we got a couple minutes. I got to talk about this story. Burt Jones, there's reporting that said that Burt Jones rejected that Donald Trump. The story came out that Donald Trump offered to make Burt Jones U.S. ambassador to Germany in exchange for endorsing Rick Jackson in the general election against Democrat nominee Keisha Lance Bottoms. Burt Jones spoke to him and also said he didn't happen. He rejected the reporting in that story. And so it's interesting. I said this before and I'll say it again. All right. As a Rick Jackson supporter, I was a Burt Jones supporter, as many of you know, and Burt and Rick went at it in the primary. They slugged it out, and my candidate, Burt Jones at the time, lost to Rick Jackson. And so then Rick Jackson, I endorsed Rick Jackson for governor, right? That's my decision to make. I could have said, I'm just going to watch a good race and play it down the middle. I could have done that, right? But I endorsed Rick Jackson. Burt Jones has no obligation whatsoever. Let me say this to everybody. Doesn't unify the party, doesn't not unify. He has no obligation whatsoever to endorse Rick Jackson today, tomorrow, September, October, the day before Election Day, at all. At all. He's out of politics, right? Basically, he ran for governor. He lost. Now he's not going to run for office again. He's out of politics. He doesn't owe the party anything. So people, I was asked today. I was on Tom Haynes' podcast on Fox 5, and he asked me, "What about party unity?" And shout out to Tom. Thanks for having me on. But what about party unity? And at this point, what party unity is there? Party unity didn't keep senators who worked with Burt Jones to endorse him, to endorse him for governor. Many of them went against him. Many of them went for Rick Jackson. So what party unity do you speak of? From Burt Jones' perspective, right? So I have no problems with Burt Jones not endorsing, or even if he wants to endorse, go ahead. He has every right not to. He has every right to endorse if he'd like to, right? But I will say this, and I talk to the Rick Jackson campaign all the time, and if they're listening, I will say this. Let's have a cordial meeting. I would love to moderate that meeting, not on air, just at a coffee shop, just the three of us, myself, Burt Jones, Rick Jackson, right? And the first thing I would say to the Rick Jackson folks, not Rick Jackson himself, but to his people, his lawyers, and the people all around him, drop the lawsuit against Burt Jones. It's not up to Burt Jones to drop the lawsuit first. It's up to you to drop the lawsuit against him, right? Drop the lawsuit. He will drop his lawsuit. And then you guys sit down and talk as men. And it doesn't have to be anything more than, hey, would you endorse me? That's it. And quite honestly, Burt can say yes. He can say no. Now, the good thing about everything going on that nobody's reporting, because everyone's kind of trying to keep this fight and this what's going on kind of attitude, which, what's the best part about all of this? Burt Jones, you know what Burt Jones is not doing? Burt Jones is not out there bashing Rick Jackson. Burt Jones is playing golf. Burt Jones is traveling. Burt Jones is taking care of his family business. And Burt Jones is living his life. What he's not doing is bashing Rick Jackson. That's unity. That's what unity looks like. I don't necessarily, and when I say I, meaning Burt, doesn't necessarily have to go out there and make some video and get on a stage and raise the hand of Rick both and say, let's go, Rick, let's get you over the finish line. He doesn't have to do all of that. He could just keep doing what he's doing. That's unity. If we weren't unified, Burt Jones would be out there bashing Rick Jackson. But he's not doing that. He stepped away. He's lost. He's out of the race. I'm okay with that. And everybody should be okay with that. The media should be okay with that. Voters should be okay with that. Republican voters especially should be okay with that. If you're hinging your vote for Rick Jackson as a Republican on whether or not Burt Jones endorses him, then we've lost this race a long time ago. We really have. If you really think about it. If you're sitting at home saying, I can't believe I need Burt to endorse Rick Jackson, if you're waiting for that to happen, then we've lost. Because it shouldn't matter. whether he does or doesn't. Rick Jackson should, in the state of Georgia, he should win. But if you're sitting at home and talking about the fighting within the Republican Party, it's not this that's causing it. Certainly, this is the last thing that's causing it. Burt Jones can do what he wants. I support him either way. It's not, no, whatever he wants to do. But I will say this. Mr. Jackson, Rick Jackson's team, drop the lawsuit. Let Burt drop his, and then you guys move forward. But as long as there are lawsuits flying back and forth, as long as Burt's having to pay lawyers, as long as all of that's going on, it's virtually actually, it's not virtually, it's absolutely impossible for anybody to have a conversation about coming together and an endorsement or lack of an endorsement or not getting an endorsement. So right now, each of you, Mr. Jackson first, Burt Jones follows, drop the lawsuits, and then sit down and have a conversation. But one thing voters, the media, Republican voters, and especially Democrat voters should know this. Burt Jones ain't attacking Rick Jackson, and that's a good thing. We'll be right back. Shelley Winter Show.